This is day 654 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. This week's Arukh HaShulchan Yomi is sponsored for schus, for tzlacha and the business endeavors of Yona's son Ezra ben Chana Feigl. He should have a tremendous siyata d'shmaya in all of his endeavors. If you'd like to sponsor an upcoming shir or more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please contact me directly. Be greatly appreciated. Today we're doing Siman Shin Pei Gimel. See base to Siman Shin Pei Vav. See the Gimel. Sounds like a lot. Okay. Base. Fucking Pirusho. So this is talking about we did see Falif, which is last time, which is basically the Arukh HaShulchan says it's cryptic, and now it's going to explain it. That which they said that when a non-Jew is not home, he doesn't answer. It's a record that that's a tur b'reish siman shinai nav. It's a Torah's opinion. But Rambam sham oser. When Rambam he does answer, why? They should really love b'Shabbos because he can always come back on Shabbos. V'ad ever negate erev. Okay, Arukh HaShulchan mechad unless he's more than 1 day distant, which goes down the sham as we read previously. Zesh kosu da'achar sheba eru batel, which they wrote. And when the non-Jew comes back, the Erev is negated, nullified. I forgot the Besfino Shu through because it's Kashu Chazar Erev and Kokamusa, even though if you have a case like with boats, which were tied together, and the Erev was in effect. And then the boats became untied, and the Erev was not in effect. And then they became tied again. The Erev goes back into effect. Zemnish, was Shamay royally going to call Shabbos. It's because there it was suitable at the beginning of Shabbos to be sustained the entire Shabbos. She'erim, the parade, they're not Omed, they're not naturally going to split apart. But here it was the air was never suited to be necessarily to be sustained over the course of Shabbos. So it came to Shabbos. It's the non-Jew had in mind to come back home on Shabbos. On the contrary, it was any time ready to be negated. That's why you don't say Shabbos holy because it was licked. Was embedded in that Erev Shmosh is the possibility of coming back. We feel much time to see him in see if the design as he shopping on below times every other coin see if the design works out well according to that. Design that the non-Jew can cancel the skiris anytime he wants. Okay, there was no skiris. Okay, be that as it may. So that which wrote after each one can do bittul to the other. But before they rent out the rishus, they can't do bittul. But some siva called him hey, like we wrote previously in the previous simon. Now, which he said the individual mutter, they're mavato each other. Ava siman shin pain is by the gamma mavata mut is by mavata mutter. We already learned that the person who's mavata is also permitted. Arzel yachid rabbi rabbi. That's the individual vis-a-vis the masses. Nasa korechet some he became like a guest vis-a-vis them, and as a guest he can carry from his house into the chutzner. Avalo yachid rabbi yachid, and that when it's an individual vis-a-vis another individual, which we said he doesn't become a guest. So if the vato does need, I guess, to carry in this situation 101. Yivata Chacham Misha Bitlulo, Lamavato Akonem. The person was Mavato, Shimivato, sense seems to be straight, difficult way. It just began the sense, and even though we said before that one came back to another, and since it doesn't seem to go, all right, let's see what it says. If a message starts coming back to Lozeh, you have to Chakach, if the Vato needs to carry, then so you can't carry as a guest. That's what he's saying. He has to be the other one has to be Vato back to him. Right? The guest part doesn't work here. That's why it has to be played bittul here. Because we have a principle that you can be bittul over and over again. Most of the time, so Simon shouldn't pay off. Zesh kosu the koshkin mesu Shabbos. and as he says, certainly be died on Shabbos. The that's okay. To carry then. One is after the other. In Beis Shavuot, Shelo Sofim Ben Atchila. So about. I guess where we have to come out. This is a case where we didn't rent them from him initially. I'm talking about it, but they rented him initially. Made Shabbos and he died on Shabbos. V'hoya lohem eruv, and they had an eruv. They had eruv skirts and shoes. And Mosas and these bata eruv yesh mishom resim kodem sifyud ches. This is according to the opinion which we had previously that the eruv is negated when he dies. Come reichlim was coming because his the they require skirts and shoes, and the skirts and shoes seems to be canceled by the death of the non-Jew. It's not a problem. Because we can rent from the air. Royal Abe is going to call Shabbos. At the beginning of Shabbos, it was okay for Shabbos. Why? Because he couldn't survive all of Shabbos. But that is, it's that's like a boat. But could be Shabbos, not like a non-Jew coming on Shabbos. But anyway, the Arukh HaShulchan says the Erev is not negated by the death of the non-Jew. And therefore, it has to be talked about here where there was no schirus. Mishmur writes the same thing. He says that where the non-Jew was here, they didn't want to do schirus from before Shabbos until it became dark, and then he died. So then, I guess, since we have a schirus in Amr Erev, therefore still would need bitter rishus, which seems to be obvious. Shin Pei Dal, Ein Yehudi Achsanya. If you have a non-Jew as a guest, you mark Erev, is he impediment to Erev or not? East Yerushalmi, East Tana doesn't say Hakustar. And he says brackets Kmo Kasdur, Vusar Muna Me'amelch, it's a government official. Osem Riyad. Yas whenever he comes to town. Achsania, the lodgers, Achar Shloshim after 30 days. East Tani, they'll say Hakusta Osel Achar Shloshim. The official asks after 30 days. Asani Ein Osel Olam. And the lodgers never. Manamar Kustar, Oser Miyad, but Rugil. He says that the Kustar asks immediately, that's when he comes regularly. And the lodgers are only vatal after 30 days, but ain't a Rugil. It's when they are not accustomed to come. Manamar Kustar Oser Lachar Lamed, those who say that the official asks after 30 days, Beeling the island B'Yeshus. So the officials only come into the city when they have authority and permission to do so. Now, Sani says to Olam, Sani never forbids being the island Shalobishus. About those who come without any permission whatsoever. Akam Lashono. End quote from Yerushalmi. Beis Vachi Beirusho. This is what it means to say. The Kvani is boy, but Simishim Beis, If B'Chav, B'Shem Rabbeinu Ramah, the Shishilo is Skir Beis Olen Yehudi. If you loan or rent out your house to a non-Jew, ain't no ser. He the non-Jew doesn't really carry. Because we said, Shalishilo B'Skir, lesser Allah. You didn't loan it or rent it in order that he should ask upon you. That's a normal non-Jew. But if the government official comes, the law of the land is law. He can live in any house he wants. The house then becomes like his. Immediately when he comes to the house, it becomes like his and it's forbids. But that's one who normally comes. But some official doesn't normally visit on a regular basis. It's just like a guest. They know it doesn't forbid. But if he sits and lives there for 30 days, it's like his house, and he forbids. That's the first brisa. Somebody who doesn't come on a frequent basis, even the kastur is called an achsanya. Right? Not ready to come, he doesn't answer. The second price is the kasura where the official asks after 30 days, they'll be in a rugil. That's where he doesn't come normally. He's an achsanya. Like I said previously. But that's when he becomes with the authorization from the king. He doesn't have authority from the king. He is just like a person who's coming in, forcing himself upon the community without any intrinsic rights. Veno Sarafal Chachalam, he doesn't answer even after 30 days. He says, back as a Pirshu Shaman, Korban Eo Kirbolik Shos, and Shom Bishur Korban, Rotsa Shabesh Girsa. The Korban wants to distort the Girsa. When he writes it is perfect. That which they wrote in Shulchan Aruch, that and the Torah in Shulchan Aruch, that a non-Jew comes in for the purpose of lodging. Nichnas Shelo B'Shutza comes without permission. Eno Salom, he never forbids. Nichnas Shelo comes in with permission. Imu B'Ragi Lavo, if he is accustomed to come. Also Miyadi Asas immediately. Im Eno Ragi, if he's not accustomed to come. Eno Sa'ad Lachar Yad Lamed Yom, doesn't forbid us after 3 days. Akal Shono. So according to Arukh HaShulchan, it doesn't mean permission from the landlord, lack of permission from the landlord. It means permission, authorization from the king, lack of authorization from the king. I'm going to be Yerushalmi, because the source is this Yerushalmi. The Zesh Klas Rabbeinu Beis Yossi Beis, basically writes, Anshi Chayel HaMelech, soldiers, Shenichnasu L'Batei Yehudim, come to Jewish homes, they are quartered in Jewish homes, which is one of the reasons we rebelled against the British. Whether it is seized or whether the owner acquiesces. If there are for the householders those places where they came in Kalim, Shabbos, there's a tfisas yad, they have vessels in those places which can't carry on Shabbos, and also they don't forbid the carrying akal shono. End quote. That's a tfisas yad, so I couldn't. But otherwise they do forbid. The Dina Machus Dina, the law of the land is law. The Kevon, since they came in with the king's authorization, therefore they have the right to be there. That what you wrote, whether they do it by seizure or by willingly. It doesn't matter whether the Jew doesn't want it or whether he wants. Because every Jew has to keep the law of the land. It says in brackets, interesting, a non-Jew enters because he's a creditor. That's called Bishus. That's true. That's only where the seizure is according to the law of the land and authorized by the court. Bishop writes that if the clerk changes from the law the king had issued, and he seizes things without authorization, he's like any other non-Jew, and he doesn't answer. Save Mishkas Yaakov argues in the Pesach of the Chaber holds it in terms of soldiers. They have never considered to have authority. Yeah, he was American patriots. He lived in Nevada. Where was he? He was in Nevada. I don't remember. That it's always the Shus Bailim, and their name is on it, and never answers. Writes that if he comes in, the creditor comes in to live there permanently because of the lien, he answers immediately. He doesn't have the name of a guest. If he comes just as a guest, he comes to spend his vacation here because he has a credit against him, a lien against him, then it needs 30 days. He says, Yesh Mekilim is, I guess, that any creditor requires 30 days. Shin Pei Hey. It's a din stoki v'avrayam be'eruv. Law of a sadducee and a criminal in eruv. Aleph, stoki reiki so. Stoki, even though he's a sadducee and doesn't believe Torah Shema is like a regular Jew for this purpose. About the Rishus, he can nullify his Rishus. After you should Mechal Shabbos in the Rabbanan, since even though the Mechal Shabbos in rabbinic prohibitions, which they don't hold of, Anusim in Minhag HaSem Yedem, they're Anusim, they're Tinok Shenishbu, that's the Minhag HaSem Yedem, so it's referring, of course, to Karaites. Mr. Brewer says that that's talking about Beis Yosef. Some posting, however, that Stoki's Mechal Shabbos Haresia is like a non-Jew. And Shabbos here wants to be machmir on this. Back to Roshon. Eruv ain't a moil. Eruv doesn't work because they don't hold the Eruv. Because the primary underlying based on doctrine, that's not quite the word I'm looking for, but logic of the Erev is that he intends that his dira should be in place of the Erev. For when it was there, the donkey doesn't commit this, doesn't admit to this. Vakutim Hashem Ronim, Samaritans, little Samaritans, real Kutim in this case, ain't going, they're complete non-Jews, they have to go, but serious, all you can do is rent it out for them. If a non-Jew is mumar to and Rachel Bursa of Azara or Chal Shabbos Vesia or desecrate Shabbos in public, I feel any Machal based on the Rabbanon. If you only desecrate Shabbos, been rabbinic prohibition. Rehu came to Yuli is like a non-Jew made a takara rock up piece skills, and all you can do is do a rental from him. For low bittul can't do bittul, Makosh can't be able to certainly can't do Erev. Chal B'tzin of Vesia, we only desecrate Shabbos in private, not in public. I feel Machal, this is the Raisa, even if it is the Raisa, I reckon some about Rishus. So like a Jew can nullify his Rishus. But Erev Vaina Klum, and Erev doesn't work for him. Shane Mother Erev, even though he does not Machal Shabbos to the Kiddush. But even though he does not Machal Shabbos for Hesi, it's still not considered to be a Moda Be'erev. Mr. Bura writes that Yisrael Zarayan for Avodah Zarah he can't be Mishtatim in Erev even if he only does a Betina. Mr. Bura writes about Machal Shabbos Hesi, specifically when he does this on a regular basis. As Machal Shabbos one time is not even in public, it's not called a mumar. Some people ever say even one time becomes a mumar. Bialacha says that that's when he does it as a way in the manner of prekasol, of rebellion. But he just makes a mistake that he thinks that he's mutatim. He's not considered to be a mumar. The Bialacha also writes in terms of even if it's only Mechal, this is the Rabbanon. He's not. That is because it's brought down that if he's only Isser Otzah, he's not. It's not considered Moed Be'eruv. But he's not sure. The question is of Muktzah. Is that the same quality, or this is just tiltul? It doesn't make him mumar. But he found afterwards that the Tiferet Soul is also machmir by Muktzah. He remains with the Tzorech Il. The Chal Sinanapa for Hesia. Shabbat brings down famous principle. He was embarrassed with Chal Shabbos in front of a great man. Even if he does it in front of several other people, also that's called B'tzina. Base. He saw Shanas Arayan, a Jew becomes this a violator. The Batim B'Shunas, he saw he had houses in a Jewish neighborhood. Shivu Chal Shan, they made an Eruv for the entire year. He became Avrayan in the middle of the year, Chmon the Son. In the Pesach Acher, if he doesn't another opening, Klal at all, back there Shanas, he saw just through the Jewish neighborhood. I raised also Erev B'Chol Shabbos Shechal Achai Shanas Arayan. He asks the Erev every time Shabbos falls after he became a criminal. I mean, Yeshua Pesach Acher, if he has another opening, Shchuna saying Yehudim to the non-Jewish neighborhood. I feel like a Pesach cut, even though it's a smaller opening. Shmuel says it's 4 tvachim by 4 tvachim. Shloya Rogim Abikoidim, which he didn't used to use previously. Come called Dogan also to Pesach, so nevertheless we push him off halachically. So that opening, Pesach Shchuna saying Yehudim, which is up in the non-Jewish neighborhood. Shloya Sarlein, it doesn't answer upon us. Zeb is Manakadma. That's in ancient times. You saw you darn when people lived in the ghetto. As long as of an hour day and age, any so-called ear. You can't ask the entire city. Sharei b'chol ear so because we do a global schirus rishus. Have a chatzer shedarba v'adei oser, but the yard in which he lives is definitely oser. The correct is going to mean rishus shebechatzer im achatzer mura b'ifnei atzmo. So if his chatzer is independent of the rest of the city, for some way, shape, form, you have to do this schirus from him. I'm not sure what he means by that. I guess if it has an Eruv with the Jews by itself, so you have to schirus the shus with him individually. But he's including the entire city, and so we don't need anything. Anyway, we rent from the authorities. That includes anybody kosher anybody we have to rent from them, their authority. So here, therefore, he's negated to the general population of the city. Let's see that Canaan and his deity. Shin Pei Vav, Din B'Shituv Mevos, making a shituf in the Mavoi. Av Hamavi the Chatzeres Kachotzabatim. The Mavoi vis-a-vis the yard, it's like the yards vis-a-vis the houses. The term was to tell me about him in the Chatzeres, the Mavoi. He rights to carry from the Chatzeres and from the house and from the Chatzeres to the Mavoi. I feel came Shusov to Socho, the Batim, even the came which were in the beginning of Shabbos in houses. Ashacham Asucham verbatim. Gamzumi Takon Shlomo. They see no. Those part of Takon Shlomo. Eruvim. They say Hamavi Chosh Mishush Mezut Teves. Because the Mavi is a common area. This be the yards. It goes out to Mishusa Rabim. Which is the other thing. They never made Xero unless you're going to carry from Mishusa Rabim just a Yochid. The Tirashe they shit they permitted by Shitu. Shim Shevu Chatzeus Marib. Kobate Chatzer. Just like every Chatzeus unites all the house in the Chatzer. Kashi to Mavos, so the Shtuvos, Mashatiko Chatzer Hamavi unites all the Chatzeros in Mavi. Lama Bechatzeros, Nikra Erev and Vos, Nikra Shituv. Why are they called Erev and the Chatzeros and Shituv and Vos? Because they are Katzer B'dvarim in order to make it quicker to say, meaning, retain similar to Baman and B'dabrim. So we should know what we're talking about. Look, if that's the case, we have to say, Erev Chatzeros, Erev and Vos. 2 words. Shame, nevertheless, make Eruv Chatzeros and Shiv and Vos. Shinamar Eruv. It's cute. I say Eruv Yadanu. Shanu Medabrim Chatzeros. We know about the arts. Shinamar Shituv. When we say Shituv Yadanu Shanu Medabrim Vos, we know about the streets. The Gagam Shem Shituv Yosef Kolel. Also, Eruv means a mixture, but Shituv means a partnership, and it's more inclusive. Therefore, in a Mavi, where there are more people in the Chutza, Kro B'Shem Shituv, they call it Shituv. Based with their call, Pritei showing Erev Shituv. Overall, Loch is identical. There's only 2 distinct distinctions. They remain out of a past Erev, you can only use bread, Shituv, Ben Bas, Ben Bechol Dover. Shituv can be by bread or any other edible. Chol Dover Mashkin, even anything which is a drink. Emotion is as we shall see. Furthermore, the Eruv Einu Mechim also B'Bayis Shem Chotzer. Eruv has been a house in the Chotzer. Shita Menicha also Bein B'Bayis Shem Chotzer. Shita can be put either in a house or in a yard. Over B'Bayis Shem Arba Amos, human house which doesn't have 4x4 amos, which is like the yard. Over Beis Shar or even a gatehouse. Uvad Shem Mokom Mishtam, as long as the place where they safe kept. Atam Pasha, the reason is simple. Sha Eruv the Kabitz Kobita Batei Chotzer B'Ayisecha. Eruv joins all the houses in the yard to one house. The Fichot Tzarech by Stavka Erev has to be simply in a house. Shituv Mekabitz Kol Chatzer and Mavi. The Chatzarach Shituv joins together all the yards of the Mavi to one yard. Then Daik Shem Munach Chatzer. So if it's sufficient to be put in the Chatzer. The Govin pass Oshramine Machal in order to make the Shituv. We collect bread or other types of food stuffs, a mashka or of drinks. We call them Chatzeros from all the yards. The Nosim Oso Ba'achal and Chatzer put in one of the yards. Posh Kasavnu, as he wrote in his word, receiving Shin Tzadi Hey. Clarify later on. Gimel, we should know the Das Rashi. According to Rashi, Shita Yachol Litain B'Chatzer. The Shita can be put in the Chatzer. Avo B'Bayis Shita Damani can be put in the Chatzer, but it certainly works in the house. That's because the Chatzer right no. The Chatzer Shalom, they're right there. The Shita have a Dafka B'Chatzer. That's specifically put in the Chatzer for Lobavais, non-house. We should the Chatzer Min Katvei Hashem Shituv, because the Chatzer is more obvious. It's for the purpose of Shituv. Then you put it there. The Shach Tvei Lamol, because the Chatzer is more connected to the Mavi, and the usages are very similar. The language of right, you can't put it in the airspace Chatzer. You don't have to put it in the house. Mashma the head you sounds quite clearly that you can't put Chatzer, but it's only good to put in the house. But then, born Moshe Rambam paragraph Din Zayin Shakas. The Ram writes, "Ketzim Shtad Ben Mavi, how we make a sheet of Mavi, Gobin Ocha B'Chlei, Meniach HaKol B'Kli Yachid, put everything in one vessel, B'Chatzer, B'Chatzer, the Mavi, in the yard of the yards of the Mavi, over Bais and Abati, we're in a house in the houses. I feel Bais Katan, even it's a small house, less than 4x4, or Sadra, a very open one, or a pestis or a porch, Kuli Akram Shana. Ray Kosim before she writes explicitly, I feel Bais Katan, even a small house, if you coach can go to, certainly a big house. Okay, well, Hedi B'Sham is explicitly B'Sham, Shomer, Sham, Shita, Erev Tzorch Bais. Erev has to be in a house. Shita, Maushi, who your Tzorch Bais is Erev have to be in a house. Masika concludes the answer Bais. You don't need a house. Ein Sham. The Koshkin Bais. So it certainly works in a house. And that's the primary halacha. The bracket says, the Tez Sham may view Zem Yushami, the Mishotziu, Lefaneu, Isa, Lesa Sham. All right, this is something which is not really relevant to us right now. And it says, it does not the Maskim Shtatu, because of the Mashik Sas of Chatchila behind Mitzvah Yosef Bas. It seems that it's a mitzvah more by Shita to use wine than bread. Because there's a shita that differentiates it and shows more the shita by Shom. Paskin reveals that Paskin not bring this distinction between this preference using wine for shitufim mevos.